We know the results from the election in Nunavut. Voters casting their ballots yesterday, and the territorial government is seeing as many new faces as it is familiar ones from its 22 constituencies. Let us go to Nick Murray, who is live from Iqaluit this morning. Good to see you, Nick, in all of this. We thought it was going to be a late night with all of the counting and what was going on. But as I said, pretty much a balance between new faces and familiar ones. Tell us about the results.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a late night. I think I went home for a quick nap and then came back into the office this morning. But yeah, you mentioned an even split down the middle, 11 new faces heading into Nunavut's legislature of the 22 seats. Now, before I go on, for viewers who may not be familiar with Nunavut's style of politics, we didn't have any winning parties last night, nor do we know who the premier will be. And that's because Nunavut has a consensus-style government. So what'll happen is those 22 MLAs will then go to a leadership forum in a couple of weeks where they will elect one premier and then 7 other people to serve in their cabinet, and those people will form the next government. The other MLAs that remain will essentially form the official opposition here in the territory. So a quick debrief on how our style of politics works. Now, to the results. Yes, as you mentioned, 11 new candidates coming into the legislature here in Iqaluit. 6 oustings last night. Not quite a record from the 8 that we saw back in 2017, but we did tie a record from 2017. 6 women were elected or acclaimed in last night's election. So that, like I mentioned, does tie a record. Now, one number that we were keeping an eye on last night was voter turnout. Didn't quite crack the 50% mark last night, down from 63% that we saw back in 2017 to 49.9% last night. Now, is that voter fatigue, COVID fatigue, perhaps a bit of both? In Iqaluit, potentially water crisis fatigue. Of Iqaluit's 4 constituencies, only one of them cracked the 50% mark. In fact, the lowest voter turnout among the constituencies in the territory did come from Iqaluit, where Iqaluit Sina didn't crack the 30% mark. I think they only came in at about 29%. So definitely a bit of a disappointing turnout last night here for Nunavut's election. Now, lastly, like I mentioned, heading into the leadership forum, Premier Josephikatak, who was Nunavut's premier in the last assembly, did win his seat by acclamation, but no guarantees that he'll be given a premiership again. Only once in Nunavut's history has a premier been chosen to be premier again following a general election, and that was Paul Ukalik back in 2008, Nunavut's first premier. So we'll see over the next couple of weeks how much wheeling and dealing may be going on, maybe some talks happening behind the scenes, but it'll certainly be an interesting leadership forum coming up in 3 weeks, Heather.
Nick, really appreciate that live reporting, and thanks for getting up after such little amount of sleep. Nick Murray from Iqaluit with the Nunavut results
Thanks,
for
Heather.
us today.